United States especially, look at the world around us and appreciate what we have today, because it really could be gone in a matter of days if we went the direction that some of these other countries have gone. Look at Venezuela. Less than 50 years ago, Venezuela was a version of the United States, and now it is a disaster. Look at Israel and Palestine right now, right? Look at what's happened with the historic locations in Ukraine, right? The world that we have built around ourselves as Americans in the United States, in the Western countries, that is a world that it's always just a few degrees away from totally toppling over. And because democracy is such an experiment where authoritarianism has been around for a long time, democracy is always going through these uncomfortable shifts. So sometimes the economy is good, sometimes the economy is bad. Sometimes we like our leadership, sometimes we don't. Sometimes the court system seems sound, sometimes the court system seems corrupt, because we're still figuring it out, right? It's back to being that adolescent conversation again. But
are you going to stay here? And if you don't stay here, let's say 5 years from now, you're going to stay in the United States. And if you don't, where would you go?
I mean, it's a great big conversation we can have anytime, Ed, but I plan to leave the United States. I plan to leave the United States before 2030. I plan to take my children, my wife, my business, and everything overseas. Some of the countries on my short list, I'm looking at Spain, Portugal, Costa Rica, Armenia, Australia, New Zealand, because what I see in all of those countries is a level of stability and a level of favoritism towards American citizens. And unfortunately, what that means is that as our country goes through its struggles, your children and my children will have fewer opportunities in the country where we're from. But if we take our children and our citizenship, our passport, our US dollars to another country that is stable, our children will have exponentially more opportunities in that country than they do here. Right? Just think about trying to get your kids into college or trying to get your kids registered for summer soccer, right? Like sometimes it's so difficult, even though you have built this amazing life. The bureaucracy and the structure of it all makes it so that you can't get anything done. But if you go to a place that's just a little bit more like politically stable and a little bit more economically flexible, now you can get basically anything done because your status and your influence matters more there.
I hope you're wrong. I remain optimistic that it's just amazing that I'm sitting here at a time in my life where someone is suggesting that Costa Rica or Spain could be a more stable political environment than the United States. That's just a stark deviation from what I grew up at least ignorantly thinking, or maybe accurately thinking. So I hope you're wrong. I remain optimistic. I'm going to have you back on. We ought to extrapolate that conversation a little bit more deeply. And but I appreciate the honesty and the candor from your perspective very much. So
and I hope I'm wrong too, Ed. Trust me. I hope I am wrong too. But for me, probabilities wise, I've got to consider all the options.
I understand. That's why I asked you the question.